At Lifehack Coaching, we help women over 35 to balance hormones naturally, boost metabolism, and lose weight sustainably. Welcome to the show, everyone. Today we're joined by Jennifer, a registered dietitian, founder of Prosper Nutrition Coaching, and award-winning university professor in food and nutrition. Jen has worked with different professional players, Olympic athletes, and she's owner of her own private practice, Nutrition RX. On top of all of this, she's also stage 3 ovarian cancer survivor who healed without traditional treatments like chemo and radiation. Jen, thank you so much for being here today.
I'm so glad, Anastasia. And I know we had some bumpiness to try to get this recorded. So I'm so pumped to do this podcast with you.
All right, Jen. Well, let's get straight into it. So today I want to talk a bit about perimenopause, hormones, and all that cool stuff that women would love to know more about. So tell me, as you know, many women in perimenopause struggle with hormonal imbalances. How can nutrition help manage these changes and also boost energy, especially for busy women like us?
That is such a great question. And what I always like to remind the perimenopause clients I work with is that basically perimenopause and menopause is an amplifier. Poor nutrition is going to amplify how crappy and crummy you feel during perimenopause and menopause. But also the benefits of good nutrition and good exercise habits are going to actually also amplify in this stage. And I find for a lot of the women in this just very hectic and busy stage of their life, they've got career, they've got caregiving, they've got their own health concerns to worry about. A lot of women are just so busy, they're unknowingly, under fueling. And maybe not necessarily always underfueling in calories, but underfueling in nourishment, like our vitamins, our minerals, our proteins, our omegas. And they're also overstressing their bodies, right? They're maybe burning the midnight oil, not getting enough sleep, maybe not taking the recovery that they require. And so I think when we think about these, helping them manage those hormone changes, and especially, like you said, boosting energy, I like to coach, and I'm sure they're the same way, about focusing on more positive addition, because there's so much negative messaging with nutrition. Take this out. You can't have this. And so instead, for perimenopause, I always start with what good can we add more of? Protein, right? Protein at all of our meals, protein in every snack, fiber and plant foods, especially really colorful, antioxidant rich. So eat the rainbow, always be adding plants to our plate. And the other kind of really powerful mental shift is just keeping it very simple for blood sugars. Every time I eat, I call it a date. Protein and fiber are going to link up and they're going to go on a date together in every one of our meals and snacks. And so it's not really about perfection. It's about creating a body that just feels really good to live in and call home during this stage of life for women.
I love that. Protein and fiber. That's the big focus I've been focusing on with my clients as well. We can create all these amazing plans for them, right? But some people just need basics. And what that one basic tool you can give or trick that you can give them, combine protein with fiber. That's it.
Yeah. Send them on a date. They get along really well.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, that's so cool. So you worked with a few elite athletes, right?
Yep.
So what can the everyday woman learn from athletes, especially like nutrition, how to stay strong and energized during this time of life?
I love pulling mindset from elite athletes because they do think a little bit different than the everyday person. And here's a couple of nutrition tips we can all learn. One is that athletes don't skip meals, right? They're fueling for their performance. And I think for women, that mindset's really powerful, right? Fuel your body for the life that you lead. And so women in perimenopause, they are athletes in many different ways, right? Your demanding life at this stage requires stamina and resilience and recovery. So I always like to kind of take this from a page of elite athletes for my everyday women. Remember, you're not chasing the smallest version of yourself. Ask instead, how can I fuel for the strongest version of me? And I think that's a great thing to pull from an elite athlete.
I love that. I love that. It's interesting. I grew up in a very toxic weight loss environment or era, right? Like if you're looking back 30 years ago, without saying how old I am. And that's when it was all about, you have to be skinny, you have to eat less, exercise more. And now I've got a daughter that just turned 10 and we talk about being strong and we talk about why you need to eat protein, at what times you should be consuming carbs. Like a good example was on the weekend, she had her netball game and then she had exams for her next school. And so I explained to her that you cannot have lollies before the game, even though, yes, it will give you energy, but you will have massive sugar crash after the game. And then you have to go into exams and you'll have nothing left in you to do your exam. So let's have good carbohydrates with slow release, like vegetables, prior to the game. And okay, let's have some lollies after the game so we can give you that quick energy boost for your brain so you can go and sit exam. And that's what we did. And she was like, Mom, I felt so amazing. I was like, that's because we were eating the right foods and nourishing your body before the game and giving you a little bit of extra boost because there's always lollies after the game. But, you know, and it's interesting how things shift, that now we talk a lot about being strong, being capable, nourishing your body rather than eating less, exercise more, be skinny, and all that stuff. Yeah. So what are the biggest nutrition myths that you see women in their 30s and 40s struggle with? And how can we shift that mindset around food?
Yeah, I mean, you hit the first one, the nail on the head, which is eating less is better. And the truth is that chronically undereating, especially for females, can lead to really low energy, muscle loss, not what we want, and increased cravings. So you're just setting yourself up for like the late night pantry raid and binge eating. So eating less is better. No, don't subscribe to that ideology. Another one I think that's really common in light of like the keto and the low carb era is just like all carbs are bad. And in fact, just like you taught your daughter, smart carbs, fruits, vegetables, legumes, they actually play a really big role in fueling our hormone health, our gut health, like the fibers in our gut microbiome, and just, of course, energy overall. Exactly the lesson, you just taught your daughter. And I think the last really big myth is just like, I need more willpower. I just need to try harder. And in fact, I sort of go back to, it's not about relying on willpower. I always joke, it's your flaky friend. It RSVPs, yes. It wants to come to the party. And then it like may or may not on Friday night be at home in its PJs on the couch chilling. Like, nah, I'm going to pass this one. So I say it's not willpower. It is your strategic environment design. Make the healthy choice the easy choice. I teach a lot about habits and habit stacking, and then our mindset, inner dialogue, and our self-talk. So I think willpower is a little bit overrated, and it's more about your habits, your system, your environment, and what happens between your two ears.
Yeah. And you interestingly mentioned that with weight loss, and depending on what kind of weight loss, right? Like a rapid and low carb ones and things like that, also comes with low muscle mass. And when we want to lose weight, we actually want more muscle mass because it speeds up your metabolism. It burns fat faster. It burns fat when you're in rest.
Yep.
And with loss of muscle, we're doing opposite what we're trying to achieve. We're actually not going to be losing weight as fast as we want to, if at all. So how can we take control of our diet during perimenopause? You mentioned like we need to create the right environment, but how can we do it without falling into restrictive eating habits or quick fix diets? Like how can we, I guess as a coaches, right? We know our clients want quick results, and sometimes they don't see quick results because they had really bad habits for a very long time or under eating. And if we're trying to fix their metabolism, trying to help them to nourish their body and eat right amount of food in the first couple of weeks, all we're trying to do is to understand what they're actually eating. Are they eating enough? And they might not be the results that they think they're going to get.
Right.
So how can we like get them out of that, I want quick results, quick fix diets mindset, or how can they get themselves out of it? What's your thoughts? Like, what's your recommendation?
Yeah. So I normally have like 3 teaching points when I have someone that very much has that restrictive kind of all or nothing, or they got like, again, the programming of our social environment is restrict, smaller, starve yourself, be all or nothing. And so like we're doing a lot of years of unwinding, kind of like toxic diet culture. So the first thing I normally do for someone that's like struggling in that place is I teach them about positive addition versus negative subtraction. And I'm going to get kind of like all nerdy with you and put on my little academic hat. But there was a really powerful research study I used to teach my university students in foods and nutrition classes. And it's about endurance when we're building a good or a bad habit. And so I'm going to actually ask the questions to you. And I'm going to use sugar as an example. So I'm going to start first with a negative approach. A negative approach is like sugar's bad. bad. I need you to avoid sugar. You should be ashamed if you eat it. It's bad for you. Here's all the reasons that it's harmful. And then what I'm going to ask you to do is avoid it. So like, could you go the rest of today without having any, additive sugar? Hopefully it's a yes, but you're going to have to like exert yourself a little bit. Okay. So that's one day. Now I want you to go 3 days, no added sugar. So like restrict for 3 days. You can't have it. Okay. Getting a little bit harder. What about 3 weeks? Do you think you have the endurance to go 3 straight weeks, 21 days, not one food that has sugar added to it? 3 months? 3 years, 3 decades. So what you can see is the endurance, the sticking power. When we start with negative subtraction, we actually hit a wall a little bit faster. But if I talk about a positive addition, and I have 3 positive additions, 3 levers I love to pull on. My levers are vegetables, so that's for fiber, protein, and daily movement. So if I start to get you to pull on these 3 levers that we're adding positive, and I said, hey, do you think you could get like half your plate covered in veggies for, your 2 meals today, lunch and dinner or supper? Not sure how you guys say it down there, but could you add vegetables 2 times today? Like a big, nice serving.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, hopefully. Could you go 3 days where you're just like adding, lots of veggies to lunches and dinner?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah. Could you handle that for 3 weeks?
Sure.
Yeah. Do you think you could go like, let's give you 80% consistency, but like 3 months of just really having like a large amount of veggies at your lunch and dinner?
Yeah, why not? Easier, right?
Yeah.
Like it's not
3 years, 3 decades.
restrictive.
So notice the lightness, the ease when we
Mm.
actually get your brain to focus on the positive addition. And so I call this the look where you want to go, right? It applies if anyone drives a car in anywhere in the world, you look where you want the car to go. If you don't want to hit a tree off the side of the road, don't stare at the tree and go, oh no, don't hit the tree.
Yeah.
You look between the lines and the car drives where it should go between the lines, hopefully.
Yeah.
So in nutrition coaching, this positive addition over negative subtraction, I just call it the look where you want to go. And so instead of getting frustrated or like the moment you slip up on a negative of like, oh, I blew it, and then goes off the negative self-talk and oh my gosh, it's a write-off. I've been so bad. Look at all the labeling that's happening. I just look at it as, okay, I've got 3 levers I'm trying to hit every day. Positive addition. Did I get a protein each meal, each snack? Did I add veggies? Lots of color to my day. Did I get some daily movement in? And if I have a little miss, I have another opportunity later in my day to still go get the point. Where if I have a negative subtraction and I hit that negative point, my whole day blows up. My whole day is ruined. So that's the first one for women that really, and guys too, that just come from that place of restriction is I completely just don't talk about restricting and I talk about what we're going to focus on and we're going to add. The second is really the all or nothing thinking. It's miserable and it won't last. So I actually just taught this to a client today and I call it my toothbrush metaphor. So I'm assuming you brush your teeth daily, regularly. Have you ever missed one time, one evening where you went to bed exhausted and you didn't brush your teeth? Not often, I hope, but like maybe here and there, if you're listening, nodding along, like, yeah, I've missed brushing my teeth before. Not very often. Look at how you problem solve not brushing your teeth. You go, oh, well, I blew it. Today's a write-off. I totally screwed up. I'll wait till Monday of next week to get back on track. Here are the things you do. You forgive quickly, you take action quickly, and you never miss twice in a row. So in the morning, oops, I didn't brush my teeth last night. You forgive yourself. You don't even beat yourself up. You take action quickly. You probably just brush your teeth the next morning or at least the very next night. And basically, I just say, don't miss 2 times in a row. So if you ever get a little bit restrictive, think about your toothbrush. Forgive quickly, take action quickly, don't miss twice in a row. And then finally, for those people that have like a very sort of like restrictive food upbringing, you have to build the habits that feel kind, realistic, and aligned with your values. It has to be robust enough for your real life. If you're trying to build a nutrition plan based on a perfect day, and you don't have perfect days all the time, I sort of think about like a plan A with nutrition, a plan B with nutrition, and a plan C with nutrition. Plan A is like, oh my gosh, everything was ideally hit today. And that might be like 20% of your year. That's okay. Plan B, is a good, solid majority of the time. It's like a good enough, healthy enough effort. And then I use plan C as like, this is my bare bone minimum. So like a travel day, I might take steps in an airport, but I'm not getting, to the gym like I like. Okay, that's my plan C. Like I walked while I was waiting at the gate. I got a healthy yogurt and apple from like, the counter, even though it wasn't ideal and not what I would have had at home. That could have been a little healthier. But like I have a plan C minimum best effort. And so yeah, that to me feels kind and realistic and aligned with my values.
That makes so much sense. Yeah, that definitely makes so much sense. And I always tell my clients, pick your battle. You don't have to win every battle. option. Pick them.
Yeah.
You know, if
Yeah.
you're going out and you're eating at the restaurant, there's always option. Pick your best option out of what there. You don't have to just
Yeah.
go back to the old habit. Just pick a battle. Maybe,
Yeah.
yeah, you're not going to have, I don't know, perfect meal, but at least you focus on protein and vegetables. And if sauces come with it, if it's cooked in butter, if it's cooked in whatever oil it is, just pick your battles. Just go with protein and veggies and you'll be fine. No, that's really cool. You had quite a big journey yourself, going through the cancer, and it's really inspiring. So
Yeah.
how has that shaped your approach to coaching women facing health challenges, especially, going through perimenopause?
Yeah, thank you for asking about that. That was probably the hardest thing I've ever had to overcome. And yet it's the thing that I'm the most proud of and really like shaped me into like the woman I am today. And I think the first thing, I think anytime you get cancer, a cancer diagnosis, is it's just going to instantly strip away the noise and it makes you face it head on and go like, what actually matters? Like, what is a life worth living? Who are the most important people in my life? Like the I love yous, the thank yous, I'm sorry's. Like it's just the little annoyances just are so insignificant when you're like fighting for your life. And then the second thing I did is I literally sat down by a river with my journal and I just made myself a list of all the things I thought it was going to take to overcome cancer. And as you know, I did it like very holistically with like nutrition and rest and mindset stuff. And I'm not at all saying I'm anti, conventional medicine. And I had a big surgery that obviously helped to remove a lot of the cancer. But for me, what I realized is I deeply needed to protect my energy, my joy, and something I call deep health. Like deep health is just being well rested. One of the values I came up with is I don't wake up with an alarm clock anymore. So I restructured my day so that if I need to sleep in an extra hour, I have the space in my schedule that I sleep in the extra hour. I gave myself like a slower, more gentle morning. And then I do, more of my counseling and client work now in the afternoon because I was like, I need deep rest. Like I need to not be like rushing and racing all the time to the next activity. Another thing was I was an elite athlete, before cancer, and I CrossFitted at a high level, and I was a dual varsity hockey and rowing athlete. And I just, with exercise, I love being active. I just stopped taking it all the way to the extreme, right? Like utterly exhausted at the week, pushing through a workout, even when I might have been like sore, not well rested, underfueled possibly because of circumstances in that day. And so I just started to like trust my body a little bit more. And there are seasons where I push and work and in fitness. And then there's seasons in work and family life and fitness that I'm more gentle, I'm more easy. And I just sort of trust the rhythm of like very intuitively, what do I feel like I need in this moment? And for me, the biggest thing with my cancer diagnosis is it took 5 years of bringing symptoms to my doctor because it was related to my gynecological health. And I wasn't believed. Like I was made to feel like I was a crazy hypochondriac. And I kept saying like,
5 years.
But I was 29 when it started and I got diagnosed a week after my 34th birthday. And the worst part was I went back and found one of my abnormal pap tests. And I went and did all the extra testing as you're supposed to do as a female. And the cancer diagnosis was right there at 29 and no one read the report. So it said negative for cervical cancer, abnormal cells detected, further testing is needed immediately to rule out uterine or ovarian cancer. No one read the report. And I found that in my medical history chart notes at age 34. So I really encourage women that do not outsource, stop outsourcing your power. Like you are the expert of your body. You know when something feels off or wrong or different. And really continue to advocate for your health, even if doctors are like, it's borderline, you're fine. Keep getting second, third, fourth opinions if you don't feel healthy and good. And I guess the ultimate lesson I think from cancer is just that, like, for me at least, my healing happened through just like consistency with my nutrition, consistency through rest, consistency with some of the meditative practices I did, a lot of like compassion, and then these small micro little decisions of health that just kept stacking up. And I ultimately like released control of the outcome of like what was going to happen. And I just trusted the inputs, the process. And that's a lot, not to bring it back to like weight loss or something, a little bit, trivial trivial is not the right word to compare the two. Like, I don't ever think when someone's on a health journey, it's ever trivial, but it's a great reminder that like you can only control the controllables and you have to kind of surrender the results and the outcome. And you have to just like enjoy the journey that you're on. And so not that cancer was enjoyable, but like I really enjoyed the lifestyle cancer forced me to start to like build my life around. Yeah.
Yeah, wow, that's crazy. And you're so right. Like you're the expert of your health.
Hmm.
I had my hysterectomy 7 weeks ago now. And it's interesting. The only reason kind of it got to the point is because I kept becoming anemic with heavy bleeding and stuff like
Right.
that.
Yeah.
So I've had iron infusion, and then a few months later I'm anemic again. They're like, well, we really have to think about what's next. And I had quite a few fibroids as well. And it's interesting because I've done removed fibroids before. I had some cysts, I had endo, all of that stuff. But I kept getting kind of not dismissed, but gaslight a little bit like, it's okay to have heavy periods. It's okay to have clothes. It's okay to have a pain. But like I would look pregnant every time I would have my period. And so they've taken everything out. They left my ovaries. And it was interesting to get, what do you call it? Like reconfirmation that I wasn't okay. Because, the first of all, I had cysts inside my tube. So, okay, that pain that I was feeling was real. It was real, right? It wasn't just heavy period. Oh, you overloaded. You had too much fiber. Maybe you should watch what you eat. No, that was cysts inside my tubes. And then my lining of the uterus was on outside of my uterus. So, and then when I looked at all the symptoms of that condition, I was like, it was right there. Everything, every little bit, including miscarriages that I kept having. It was one of the symptoms as well. I was like, why for so many years? Like it's over 10 years for me. No one even thought that maybe that was an issue. Maybe. But yeah, it's interesting. I'm like, okay, well, that's actually good that it's come out because it makes sense now. It makes so much sense.
Not that you're like happy for a diagnosis like that, but it's almost like relief that you're not making things up, that you're not blowing it out of proportion, that there's like serious pain and serious problems that you're dealing with silently every day.
It is because before that, I posted on different women's pages like, oh, give me your experience about hysterectomy. Like I was like, oh, maybe I can deal with being anemic, or maybe I'll just eat more red meat. Like maybe I keep taking my iron pills. But actually, issue were bigger than that. It wasn't just being anemic, like it's other things.
It was more serious than just that. Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway.
So women, don't give away your power, and you are the expert. You know your body better than anyone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So with so much conflicting advice that we get out there, what's the one thing women should focus on first when they want to improve their health long term?
Okay, I'm going to break your rule. I'm going to give you 3 things just because they're like 3 connected to one.
Okay.
Is look where you want to go. So positive addition. And for me, I have 3 powerful levers I have my clients try to pull every day. Lever 1 is the fiber lever. Veggies, fruits, legumes. This is going to support your hormones, your fullness, your digestion, and bring inflammation down. Lever number 2 is our protein lever. At every meal, like we're trying to really not skip protein every time we eat. This, especially for women's hormonal health, is going to protect their lean muscle, boost metabolism, and it's going to help regulate your appetite and suppress things like sugar cravings. And then the third lever I try to get people to pull is your movement lever. That could be strength training, that could just be going out for a walk with your significant other, your dog, anything that brings you joy. And movement and exercise is going to build your energy, it's going to help with your mental health and your mood, and of course, longevity. So I know it's not one, but I think of like, the fiber, the protein, the movement lever. Yeah, they're all connected, and they're all, if you notice, positive additions. They're not restrictions. And what that's going to do for your body, it's going to build momentum and it's going to build trust. And if you're in doubt, I always think about this phrase: am I making the healthy choice the easy choice? Like each lever. Am I making exercise easy? Am I making protein easy? Can I make vegetables a little bit easier? So just make your environment supportive so it's easier, less friction to pull on those levers. Give it some grease.
Oh, that's so cool. Thank you so much. So you also have like an online course for other coaches, right? They can get more knowledge and how to be a better coach.
Yeah.
How can they find you? Like, where is it? Tell me where they can find that.
Thank you. So I have a certification for health coaches and nutrition and fitness coaches specifically. It's called Prosper Nutrition Coaching. I have a certification that I take people in a few times a year. It goes through all of the practical sides of coaching behavior change. And it really embeds a lot of behavior change psychology and like how to get humans unstuck when they have good intentions, but maybe they're not quite as consistent as they should. good. So if you go to prospernutritioncoaching.com, you can find me there. On Instagram, I'm prosper_NC for nutrition coaching, or I respond to all the emails I get. So go find me at info@prospernc.com. And I also have a YouTube channel just for coaches if you're looking to kind of take in this content. And I do a lot of like gamification and playing games and metaphors with my coaching clients. So I just share like the toothbrush metaphor as an example, or the lever metaphor. I put a lot of that stuff on YouTube for free.
Oh, that's cool. That's awesome. What's the name of your YouTube channel?
Prosper Nutrition Coaching.
Of course.
So if you search Jennifer Broxterman, or Prosper Nutrition Coaching, I should come up on different corners of the internet.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate your time. And we finally got here. We've been able to use technology today.
This was a ton of fun. Thank you for having me on your show.
Oh, thank you. If you have any questions about this podcast or about hormones, weight loss, or just healthier lifestyle, please go to our website at lifehackcoaching.co.nz or feel free to email me directly, Anastasia@lifehackcoaching.co.nz.